7th day of July, 1923, to the family of Mr. and Mrs. Emmanuel and Elizabeth Oguns of Ondo Town, Ondo State of Nigeria. His forefathers were predominantly Ogun worshippers. His father later embraced Christ and became an Anglican family. Dr. Oguns spent his early years in the family's cultural farm settlement in the Wara village with his parents. Like the biblical Jacob, he was his mother's boy. So when his mother died, it was kept away from him. Number 4 in a family of 7 children, 6 boys and 1 girl. He was brought up with a very high level of discipline. This was very reflective of his conduct on affairs and the high-handed way in which he brought up, most especially his elder children and the other ones that had the opportunity of being under his tutelage. Dr. Oguns did not enjoy good health as a young child. His parents lost hope of his survival, that he was not given a name on the 8th day like other children. When he eventually survived the first health challenge, he was given the name Oluwawalaimi, which means God is behind me. He started school very late at the age of 17, attending lessons for 5 years. In 1949, he enrolled with St. Andrew Primary School, and he passed out in 1952. He travelled with one of his elder brothers, Adewale Ogunson, Papa Aina, who happened to be his mentor to Warri in 1953. While in the Warri United College of Commerce, popularly known as UCC, between 1953 and 1958, he obtained his Royal Society of Arts Stage 2 certificate. He then proceeded to gain employment in a popular transport company called Amise as a clerk. His main task was booking passengers going from Warri to Benin, Lagos and other western states. As at this time, there was no road linking Warri and Sapele, so vehicles going to Lagos and other places through Sapele would have been ferried by the most famous pontoon ferry ship. It was one of these occasions in 1958, while accompanying a vehicle in transit, the ferry ship, that he got the divine call. The voice was loud and clear. Felix, if you love your life, drop everything with you, terminate your journey here and now. Your mission on earth has just begun. He immediately recalled what a prophet who came to pray for them in their farm settlement in Uwara in the early 1930s on the occasion of his sickness said about him to his father. The prophet had prophesied that this young man was going to be a great prophet of God and that he must not do any other job outside this prophet's mission. He immediately handed over all the documents in his possession to the driver of the bus he was accompanying and returned to Warri with the ferry ship. At this point, he was mistaken for an insane person, and this development brought a lot of anxiety and fear to the family in Warri. He was eventually taken to a prophet for prayers, and there God revealed to the prophet that Felix was neither mad nor sick, but he had just received a divine call. He was therefore ordained a prophet the same year after passing a rigorous authenticity test that entailed blindfolding of each of the trainee prophets, while a bottle of water, unknown to them, is consecrated and placed among others. Each of the candidates is expected to identify the bottle of water that has been sanctified. Confirmation depends on your ability to identify the right bottle of water. Failure to identify the right bottle of water meant another year of study. Papa was led by the Spirit of God to pick the right bottle, and that led into his outright confirmation and subsequent ordination as a prophet. From then on, he began his prophetic ministry. One unique thing about Papa is that he is a multi-talented, gifted man of God. Amongst the gifts God bestowed on him are healing, visions, prophecy, casting out of demons, and deliverance, wisdom, preaching, tongues and interpretations. He also enjoyed singing, a good composer of songs, speaks and sings in many different languages, including Urhobo, Isoko, Shekiri, Ijo, Igbo, Yoruba, and his native Ondo dialect, amongst others. The very first miracle he performed was in an Orobo village of Ufiama, where he destroyed the demonic powers of a notorious juju called Oke. Prior to this miracle, nobody in Ufiama could build a zinc-roofed house. Anyone who dared to carry out such a project would die on completion of such a house. After what was termed the Great Battle of Ufiama, people were now free to build zinc-roofed houses without any death scare. It was also difficult for the female children of Ufiama to marry and travel outside because of the stubborn Oke Juju would have want them to return home and continue to serve it. It was also after a miraculous feat by Papa that this negative happening ceased. He then became very popular in Ufiama, Abaro, and neighboring villages, that he was most of the time presented with gifts in appreciation of what God was doing through him. On several occasions, God had used him to raise the dead. This helped to increase his popularity in the Wari area. In 1963, two men named Uvo and Noa Boki, with other members of a CNS church in Obashuku, came for a conference at Abaro, where they heard and saw what God was using this young man to do. Immediately, he was approached by Mr. Uvo and Noa Boki, who happened to be leaders of delegation, to please come to Obashuku and demonstrate the power of God, since there was no prophet of note in the town as at that time. Papa accepted the invitation, and on getting to Obashuku, declared an outside preaching, what is today known as crusade. It was during one of these various outside preaching at the old Abana Market Square at Obashuku, where he saw and healed a madman, who then became one of the earliest converts. The madman is alive, married with children, and lives in Obashuku till this day. From then on, Papa's powers spread throughout the town. Another remarkable miracle in Obashuku in the 60s was healing a cripple named Emmanuel. The Church Fountain of Hope, Cherubim and Seraphim was founded on the 17th of June, 1965 in Obashuku. From then on, other branches were also opened, first at Onichabuko, then Ubuluku, Iseluku, Obio, Isele Azaba, etc. In 1972, he trained a notable prophet, now late A.J.C. Akeze, who comes from Onicharugo. He later became the traveling prophet of the entire Fountain of Hope CNS Church, and was indeed the first product of Papa as per prophetic training was concerned. Papa also trained a lot of prophets, amongst who were Special Apostle Arenze, late Senior Apostle James Monye, Senior Apostle Alex Okolobu, Prophet Kehinde, Senior Apostle Peter Modeze, Prophets Ima Apollo, and a host of others. During the Nigerian Civil War, there was an incident that would have taken Papa's life. But for God, after that day's morning service, he was wearing a red garment, and a divine voice ordered him to pull off his garment. He obeyed. The same voice asked him to go out of the room and lay on a bench outside of his house. As at that time, a female member of the church named Mrs. Azeku was on the bench, there with her son, John. Papa immediately ordered her out of the bench. The very moment Papa was putting his head on the bench, a lorry load of Biafra soldiers arrived with their informant, who happened to be a native of Obashuku. "Where is the Yoruba man?" they shouted, each of them with guns fully loaded with ammunition. Papa was observing the whole event, but patiently waiting God's next line of instruction. A lot of people gathered to witness what was about to happen to the new prophet. The soldiers were afraid to enter Papa's room. Then one of them courageously used the nozzle of his gun to lift the curtain up, and then saw Papa's visitor, Prophet Kudi Obianozi, whom they beat to a state of coma, even after he spoke the Igbo language with them, telling them that he was not the prophet Oguns that they were looking for. The search for Papa was still on, when the divine voice now commanded Papa to go in peace. Papa narrated how he was pushing aside the soldiers to find his way out of the scene of the event, not the dictator. not that they could dictate or they could notice his presence nor identify him. Hallelujah. In 1990, on the recommendation of Justice Akoro and some of his associates, Papa received an honorary doctorate award, Doctor of Divinity, from a notable Christian theological university, the Calvary Grace University, USA. This was an aftermath of a great and incredible healing miracle God had used Papa to perform in the life of Justice Akoro. Papa was a very simple person. Prior to the doctorate award, he preferred to be known and addressed simply as Apostle F.O. Oguns. He loved his children so much that he would, on occasion, sacrifice his meals for them. He endeavored to give his children the much-needed comfort he could afford, to the extent that many saw his act as that of spoiling his children. He made education a priority and would always reward any of the wards who excelled in his or her academics with gifts. He would sometimes go into the kitchen himself to prepare for his children his favorite beans and fresh cornmeal, and some other times the water yam porridge, popularly known as ojojo. His personal touch on these meals were superlative, to say the least. He was very good at reading the mood of his children, and he knows how best to put back the smiles on their faces. Papa also was a very humorous person. His sense of humor is unparalleled, and he uses proverbs so richly that anyone around him would always benefit from this great attribute of his. Papa was a strict disciplinarian. He never spared the rods when it comes to putting his children on the right path. Most of the time, he would employ the services of his very good friend, Special Apostle F.N. Okafor, whom he simply calls F.N., who happens at that time to be a primary school headmaster. F.N. would gradually accept the challenge to deal with Papa's children. Papa also helped in shaping the character of some young men and women who were not his biological children, amongst who are Chief Jomo Enujuko and Chief Charles Udebe. These men are now very prominent members of the society and very influential in their various fields. Papa ordained an apostle in 1917 by the late General Apostle G.A. Awe of the St. John Universal Church of Christ Warri. Papa was a complete man of God. He was a prophet, an apostle, evangelist, teacher, and pastor. As an apostle, he led an example serving the needs of his followers. Many will recall how on many festivals in the church, Papa would personally serve food to members in order for there to be orderliness, and he was always ready to forfeit his own portion for anyone who complained of not being served. He was a very generous person. When he's on the table eating, he beckons on anyone around him to join him on the table, and he gets angry with anyone who will not eat with him. Papa's relationship with other churches was very cordial. Most of the time, he was always invited to preach during important ceremonies. As a prophet, he ministered so much to the spiritual needs of both church members and non-members alike. So many individuals benefited from the gift of healing, miracles, signs and wonders, what God had bestowed upon him. A full compilation of his life and miracles will be put together in a book very soon, for all of us to see and appreciate the work of God through this great man of God. Papa was a fearless preacher. He stood for the truth no matter whose ox is heard. He also had the privilege of being with the very high and mighty in society, but he never allowed this to affect the ways he approached national issues. He criticized when it was necessary, and he also takes time to pray for the good of the land. Papa had a very close relationship with the Oguns royal family, and most especially with the late Obi Izeduana I. The Obi at various occasions would pay Papa some private visits, and Papa would always play a good host to His Royal Highness. Papa would always say that in Yoruba land, where he hails from, that Oba's visits was always appreciated with lots of gifts presented to the Oba. For this reason, Papa would go out of his way to make sure he presented something tangible to the Obi. Papa was very popular and well loved in Oguns. He also served in various capacities in Oguns and Anyocha local government. At a point, he was appointed the chairman of the Amateur Athletic Association of Nigeria of Anyocha local government area. He was also chairman of various school parents teachers association. For his love for sports, he had houses named after him in some schools during inter-house sports festivals. He was a lover of soccer and athletics. As a young man, he represented his school and won many laurels for them as a short-distance runner. Papa served as a member of the Police Community Relations Committee on Oguns for several years. Papa travelled to London in the year 2000, and in 2001, he opened the London branch of Fountain of Hope CNS Church. He performed some remarkable miracles while in London. He returned to Nigeria in September 2002. From this time on, he had a real hard battle with his health, which kept him away from active service. Although he still spent time praying for people and counseling them, he also endeavored not to miss church services. Papa was aware of his impending death, and this was evident in various discussions he had with some of his children weeks before his death. He actually mentioned about his death to his first son on December 28, 2003, but he was not taken seriously. Papa married and was blessed with a lot of children. He finally answered the call to a higher glory on Sunday, 29th of February 2004 at about 2 p.m. May his soul find eternal rest and in the bosom of the Lord.
Amen.